Good morning. I'm State Representative Carl Gilliard, and today we are here to focus on a very, very important bill. We're just a few days into completing this 2018 session, and one of the most important and heartfelt bills to me that I've had a chance to work on in my short tenure is House Bill 891. Just a couple of months ago, in the month of December, even 2 years back, I met a person by the name of Mr. MacArthur Jarrett. And one of the things that he said in meeting with our delegation, he talked about those that were blind, and he talked about those that were being discriminated against. And we made a promissory that we would stand up for over 202,000 plus citizens from around the state of Georgia and to sound the alarm on the things that were going on with a great population of people that were just as able as we were, but didn't have so much the capabilities of sight. And so House Bill 891 is a prerequisite to stand up for those citizens across the state of Georgia and to sound an alarm as a template for those across America that these citizens should not be discriminated against. And one of the things that the bill talks about in its inception are those parents that have the right to be parents and not discriminating against anything that they don't, we should not have the right to, number one, curtail them from being parents in reference to giving them any other substance or anything that's going to prevent a person from having a child. And then secondly, we shouldn't have the right to come in and to take the right of parenthood away from them being able to raise their child. So today we're here with Mr. Greg Akins, who is the president of the National Federation of the Blind for the state of Georgia. And then we have a very powerful parent that I understand was a teacher, Miss Jackie Anderson, and she's going to come and give us a testimony of what she went through. But in everything, this bill is not dead in reference to this session. We're hoping to get a hearing on next week, and the focus is if the citizens of Georgia would support us in calling their legislators and their senators and asking them to support this most viable bill. We're going to have Mr. Greg Akins come at this time.
Every day across the country and in Georgia, unfortunately, blind parents are having their right to parent called into question, typically by professionals who are charged with protecting children. Blind mothers when they give birth in the hospital, or blind parents when they take their kids to the doctors, are faced with low expectations. People don't expect that they would be able to take care of their children. And so they start raising questions. They start thinking, well, I don't know how a blind person would take care of a child. Maybe it's not safe. The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness does not prevent someone from being a good parent. Whether or not you're a good parent has very little to do with whether or not you can see. And so we strongly support HB 891. We thank Representative Gilliard and the other sponsors of HB 891. We urge and encourage all of the legislators in the state of Georgia to support this legislation and protect our rights. We know that we can be excellent parents. And so we want to protect, the current law doesn't protect our right to do that. My name is Greg Akins. I'm the president of the National Federation of the Blind of Georgia, and I want to introduce to you one of our members, a mother, Jackie Anderson, to share her story.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akins. And again, thank you very much, Representative Gilliard, for sponsoring this bill. 14 years ago, I was blessed with my daughter, Anya. My husband and I at the time had done everything as all new parents do, had our doctor's appointment, went through coaching class, met several pediatricians to evaluate which doctor we would select to care for our child. We did everything that we thought was necessary to prepare for her arrival. When I arrived at the hospital and went through the screen inquiring as to how I plan on feeding her, I told them that my plan was to breastfeed. After I gave birth to Anya, the nurse came in and told me that I was not allowed to breastfeed. When I asked why, I was told because I could not see. And the fear was because I could not see, I would not know if I was suffocating my child. The NICU doctor supported her stance that if I proceeded to breastfeed, they would contact Department of Family and Children's Services to file a complaint that I was endangering my child. Not on anything that I had demonstrated a lack of capacity for or lack of knowledge of, but on the prejudice of the nurse, the doctor, the social work staff of the hospital, that because I was blind, I was incapable of raising my child and caring for my child independently. I was fortunate that I had a doctor who knew my capabilities, had high expectations, and had no prejudice of such. The only way that I avoided losing my child was she discharged me from the hospital early to take my child home. My story is not unique. There are mothers, fathers, caregivers here in Georgia and across this United States who every day are faced with similar situation where their ability to care for, supervise a child is called into question, not on anything that they had done or not done, but on the prejudice or the preconceived notion that a person who is blind is incapable of caring for a child. This bill will protect our right to parent. It does not say that every blind person is the greatest parent in the world. But what it does say is that a decision to remove a child from a person's custody have to be made on facts that are outside of their blindness. Again, I thank you, Representative Gilliard, and the other sponsors for this bill. And I urge the citizens here in Georgia to contact your legislator to support this bill, HB 891. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Akins, for your service. And, you know, one of the things that is hard to believe is that throughout the state of Georgia, we have more parents that are not having the advocates, and this bill will advocate for those parents. There's also language in this bill that advocates for those that are disabled. And so we face the same perimeters when we have parents that want to parent that are being discriminated against because of what we deem as being disabled. So let's stand up and, as I say, take the blindfolders off so that we can be able to see what they have seen and to be able to support this bill that will stand up for the rights and to break the cycles of discrimination on those citizens that are blind and disabled. We thank you for the opportunity.